Chapter 15, Visualizing Solid Shapes. So, we can deal in this chapter the concept regarding the shapes. So, first let us study what are plane shapes and solid shapes. What do you know about plane and solid shapes? Yes, flat shapes are called plane shapes. So, the shapes we see daily are called plane shapes such as triangle, rectangle, square, circle, etc. are called plane shapes. Why they are called plane shapes? They are also known as 2D shapes. That means two-dimensional figures. Why? Because they are measured in two dimensions, mainly length and breadth. So, plane figures are having two dimensions. What are they? Length and breadth. So, they are called 2D or two-dimensional figures. So, what will be solid figures? Yes, 3D figures. What are they? These are 3D shapes. Which are they? Cone, cylinder, sphere, square based pyramid, cube, triangle, prism, tetrahedron. Tetrahedron means triangular pyramid. Then cuboid. So, these are some examples for solid shapes. Now, what is its different from plane shapes? They are three-dimensional figures since they have three dimensions. What are the three dimensions? Length, breadth and height. Plane shapes have two dimensions, whereas solid shapes have three dimensions, that is they are measured in three different lengths, that are length, breadth and height, and also they occupy space. Now when you see this solid shapes, you can see our plane shapes can be seen in solid shapes. For example, if you consider the cube, what are the faces of a cube? Yes, all the faces are square. Now cuboid, two faces, opposite faces are rectangle, then other two faces will be a square. So, these plane shapes you can see in solid shapes. Now, I will show you some examples for solid shapes. What are they? First shape is cone. Now, cone, some examples, ice cream cone, then birthday hat, etc. This is cube. The very familiar Rubik's cube is an example for cube. Then cylinder, it's soda tin, then glass of water resembles cylinder. Sphere, the bowl, then balloon. Pyramid, so existing pyramid is an example for the structure pyramid. Now rectangular prism is very familiar with the bricks, then your geometric box or your symbol box, then your textbooks, etc. are having a shape of rectangle prism. The other name is cuboid, rectangular prism. Now what we can see, what are faces, edges and vertices of these solid shapes. So what is face, what is edge and what are vertices? So consider the case of a cube. This is cube, isn't it? Now what is a cube? All the faces of a cube will be same. So what do you mean by face? The flat surface. This flat surface is known as face. So a cube is having 6 faces. Now what is edge? Two faces are connected with a line, isn't it? That line is known as edge. So this face and this face is connected using this edge. Now what is vertex? 3 edges are connected using a common point, and that common point is the vertex. So a solid shape is having a face, edge and vertex. Some figures may not have vertex. Can you say an example? Yes, sphere. Sphere is not having a vertex. So, face means the flat surface around a flat surface or the surface around the solid shape. Some solids are having flat surface, whereas some are having curved surface. Then edges, what two faces are connected using edge, and vertex is the common point between 3 edges. Now this is a triangular prism. So how many faces they are having? 1 here, 2 here, 3, 4, and on the other side 5 faces. Now edges 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 edges. Now how many vertices? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 vertices are there. So in this way we can calculate the vertices and edges. Nets for building 3D shapes. So what do you mean by nets, and what are the nets for 3D shapes? That means solid shapes. So what do you mean by nets? A net is a sort of skeleton outline in 2D shape which when folded results in a 3D shape. That means in order to make a 3D shape or a solid shape, the rough outline of or the skeleton, in other words we say skeleton, that is known as a net. So we have studied different types of solids, for example cube, cuboid, triangular, pyramid, etc. So in order to make these solid shapes we need some nets, so that when folded we'll get the required solid shape. So these nets are a rough skeleton of plane shapes. So what are the plane shapes we studied? Rectangle, square, triangle, etc. So with the help of these plane shapes we can make the skeleton, that is the net of solid shapes. Some examples we can see. Here this is a cube or cuboid, both. There is only the change. In cube all the sides will be square. In cuboid some sides will be square and other will be what? Rectangle. So this we can consider as a cube. Then this is the net for a cube. That means this when folded we are getting a cube. Folding from all the sides we are getting a cube. This is not a cube, this is a cuboid, because these two sides are square whereas these other sides are rectangle. So it will be a cuboid. Next, this is a net of what? A square pyramid, because the base is a square and other sides are triangle. So it's a pyramid with square base. Now this is the net of a cylinder. This when folded, here when folded we get the body of the cylinder and these two are closing, that closing of the cylinder. Now this is the net of a cone. That means from a portion of circle, that means sector and all you have studied. If a sector is folded you will get a cone, and this is the closing of the cone. So these are nets. That means when these shapes are folded you will get the required solid. Thus this is folded you will get a cuboid, and when this net is folded you will get a square pyramid. Here you will get a cylinder and here you will get a cone. Drawing solids on a flat surface. That means we have studied different types of solids. How can we draw these solids on a flat surface? So consider the solid cube. There are two methods for drawing, that is drawing on an oblique sketch and drawing on an isometric sketch. So what is this oblique sketch and what is isometric sketch? That I will tell you now. If we are drawing a cube, we know that this dotted edges will not be visible, isn't it? If you are drawing a cube, these dotted edges are not visible. And also when we are drawing a cube on a simple surface, we are not taking the measurements of sides. You know, all the sides of a cube should be equal, isn't it? All the sides are square, so all the sides should be equal. But when we are drawing a cube, we are not taking the measurements, but it is obviously looking like all the sides are equal, isn't it? Such a figure, such a sketch is known as oblique sketch. That means we are not taking actual measurements all, but it actually looks like a cube, isn't it? Now this can be practiced on a squared paper. So after practicing on a squared paper, that means squared paper means here, if you are taking correct measurements for all sides and if you are practicing in a squared paper, then when you are drawing on a flat surface also, it will be looking like a what? Cube. So when we draw a cube on a squared paper, all the sides will be equal, isn't it? So it exactly look like a cube. Now if we, with this measurements, if we draw in a flat surface, it will also be a cube itself. So this type of sketches are known as oblique sketches. Now isometric sketch means, you know what is meant by isometric paper? Yes, this is isometric paper. That means the sheet is divided into equilateral triangles by dots or line segments. Here it is dots. Now taking equal measurements here, we can sketch these solids here. Now take the case of a cuboid. We can trace a cuboid in this isometric paper. So first I draw a rectangle here, then draw equal measurements here. 3 units, I took 3 units here, here and here and here. So that 4 sides. Now joining here and this side, we have got a rough sketch of a cuboid. So these are the 2 sketches. One is oblique sketch and isometric sketch. Isometric means these types of sheets are known as isometric, and oblique sketch means we are not taking actual the measurements of the sides and all, but still we are getting the actual. That is oblique sketch. So these 2 are the methods of drawing solids on a flat surface. Next, visualizing solid objects. That means how we are visualizing this solid objects. There are 3 methods for visualizing solid objects. First method, by cutting or slicing. That means the whole solid shape we are slicing or cutting and finding out the what way we can view it. For example, you have seen slices of bread, isn't it? This bread is whole as what? We can make it as a cuboid shape, isn't it? This full bread. But when we cut it into pieces, each pieces will look like what? Square, isn't it? So the whole loaf of a bread looks like a rectangle or a cuboid. But when we slice it out, one piece we can look it like what? A square. Similarly, we are considering the case of solid shapes. Consider the case of a cylinder. If the cylinder we are cutting in this way, one piece will be having a shape of sphere shape. Whereas if we are cutting in this way, perpendicular cut we are cutting, then we will get the one side as what? Cuboid. That is the difference. That means horizontal cut and vertical cut. Vertically cutting and horizontally slicing, we are getting 2 different shapes. The whole shape is what? Cylinder. But we are getting, when you are parallel cut, we are getting what? A circular. That means a spherical shape. And whereas a perpendicular cut, we are getting a cuboid. So in this way also we can view a solid. Altogether the cuboid we can view it by a cylindrical shape, but when we are slicing it and shaping, 2 ways we are getting. One is spherical shape and the other is cuboid. You have seen we are playing with hands and all to make in order to make shadows of animals, isn't it? This is shadow play, right? Similarly, the solids also, if taken the shadows of the spheres, we can get another shapes. Let's see what all are they. That means here a ball is there, a cylindrical pipe is there, a book is there. Now when it is allowed to keep it on over a light, and when the shadow is coming, what shapes this will happen? Yes, the spherical ball will be, the shadow will be what? Circle shape. It was a spherical ball, right? But what is the shadow? We got a circle, isn't it? Next, a cylindrical pipe. What the shape we got? It's a rectangle. Then a book. When the shadow of a book, what we got? Again a rectangle. So this way also we can view. Actually that book is having a shape of what? Cuboid. And the shadow of that book is having the shape of a rectangle. Similarly, that circular pipe, it's having a cylindrical shape, but its shadow is having the shape of what? A rectangle. And the bowl, it was a spherical bowl and it is having a shadow of circle. So this way also, this is also a sort of viewing the solids. First we sliced the solids and viewed. Second type is by shadow play. Now the third one, by looking at it from different angles. What we all do, that means we used to view an object differently. What all? This is the front view, this is the side view of this home, and this is we are looking from up. here this is looking from down, this is we are looking from the top, and this is the front view. That means we are viewing an object from different angles, front, back, side, opposite, like that. So these are according to view. Wherever we are viewing, that will be the view of that solid. Now sphere and all, if you are viewing from any side, it will be having a shape of sphere itself. Now for example, take the case of a square based pyramid. If it is kept there, if you are viewing from side and all, we'll see it as a triangle. So how we are viewing, it depends upon the angle. That is the viewing from different angles.